Hi, my name is Fally, and today I want to make a video about a subject that is very close to me. A video about my old friend. And to set the scene of this thing, I'm gonna have to go back about 20 years ago. About 20 years ago, I had a friend, and his name was Nathan. I met him in preschool, and I remember his mother bringing him to school for the first time. And he didn't want his mother to leave him there. And his eyes were welling up with tears, and his face looked like he was about to cry. I was playing with my other friends and running around. I was just minding my own business, just running around. But I couldn't help but notice him, this new face. Fast forward a couple months later, I started playing with Nathan. I got to know him. Fast forward a few years later, we were in grade school at that point, which is a primary, and I would play with Nathan sometimes. Rarely. I don't understand why it was rare, because Nathan and I got along very well. But I'd play with him sometimes, and it was rare. But oftentimes he would come to me when somebody had upset him. And he would come to me with his face looking sad and as though he was about to cry. His eyes were welling up. His lips were trembling. And would tell me all about it, and in retrospect, I would feel helpless. And I would try and comfort him as best as I could. And this happened quite often. Very often, he looked like he was about to cry, and he would tell me about who hurt him, who upset him, who's not being fair, what they said about him. And I'd listen to him, and I was trying to comfort him. He felt very much like, I think he was a year older than me, but he felt very much like my little brother. I remember once we were at a jungle gym. The school that I went to had this jungle gym, this military type jungle gym, but it was scaled down a little bit. And I liked playing on that thing. So that afternoon, Nathan and I were running up and down the jungle gym, jumping off, doing dangerous jumps off that thing because it was pretty high for our height. And I remember I had a conversation with him. And one of those rare conversations where he's happy. Let's talking about television programs and all the stuff that we enjoyed. And we took a run up the ladder. And I used to do crazy stuff, really dangerous stuff, but I was pretty skilled at it. Anyways, that's beside the point. I jumped off. I told Nathan that I'd see him later, and I ran. My father had come to pick us up. I ran and got my stuff. I remember I was running on my socks, on sand. I was running with my socks, and ran, and I remember that moment. So that's just one of those moments that I remember. And another moment was we were at PE. I don't know who had said what or did what, and he came to me, and Nathan was positive. He was very fragile. I knew that then. In retrospect, I see it now more than ever. He was very fragile, and really like a pure, precious person. He wouldn't hurt anybody. And he came to me, and I think we're just about done with PE. We're not quite done yet. And we're standing at the fence with some of the guys. And we're walking into the field because we're at one end of the field. Nathan comes from my right hand side, and I notice him, and we start to talk, and we walk and talk for a few seconds, and then we stop, and he's telling me all this stuff, and I look up at his face, and his lips are trembling, and his eyes are welled up, and telling me about how these people had been unfair and had treated him unfairly. I don't remember exactly what it was about, but it had to do with something, people being unfair toward him about. And I just told him, and not to mind that, they're not worth whatnot, and whatever I said, I don't remember, but I tried to comfort him. And it was one of those moments. What I didn't know then was that Nathan and I were bonding through all that, me giving him my time and talking, and we'd talk about things that we enjoyed. That happened rarely though. Things that we enjoyed, TV programs and whatnot. There used to be these little medallion type things that we got from the packets of crisps that the company that produced they called them Simba chips at the time. That the company that produced those had this campaign where they had these medallions to get us people to buy them, and we'd talk about all sorts of stuff. And when he was happy, I enjoyed those times when he was happy, because most of the time Nathan was sad, and spent most of our interactions me comforting Nathan. It was pretty sad. Very lonely kid, very lonely young man. It was sad, but in retrospect, I say that he was lonely. And one day, let's fast forward a number of years, about 3 or 4 years. One day we're at church, the church that my mom used to go to, and it was in a school. We used the school for that church, and we'd finished with what do you call it? Where the kids go, Sunday school, and we were just playing around. We were playing in this gazebo type thing. It had a lot of cement, brick and cement benches. It looked much like a gazebo, where the students would use for outdoor lessons. And one of my teachers comes up, and her name is Miss Mercy. I think nothing of it. I'm having a ton of fun. And she calls us, and she sits us down. And she's a little hesitant, and she says that Nathan passed away. And when she said that, it was like I got high. It was just so surreal. But I only know that I got high in retrospect, because right then I just didn't know what I was feeling. I just felt confused. She told us that Nathan had passed away, that he got run over by a truck. Was it a car, a truck? I don't remember exactly, but one of those. And I had just gotten through talking to Ramek and Jordan. Macy was about a year old at that time. We were playing with Macy. I remember it was me, Jordan, Macy, and a few other kids. And I sat there stunned. After she left, I just sat there. I could barely take it in. He was gone. I knew that he'd gone somewhere away from Maun. That's the place where we used to stay in Botswana. And suddenly he was gone. I mean, that stayed with me because I remember that moment from time to time. But the reason why I make this video is because for many days now it's been on my heart to honor my friend, that his memory would endure, at least as long as I live. Well, that's all I have to say about it. Remember my friend Nathan. I don't remember his last name, but I remember his face. Remember Nathan.